What if I told you the most realistic war movies weren't the loudest or even the biggest box office hits? They were the ones that felt real, the kind that leave gunpowder in your lungs and ghosts in your memory. These are the films where every scream, every silence, every breath of smoke was born from truth. Hollywood loves spectacle, but sometimes truth is the real explosion. So tonight, we're diving deep into 10 war films that got it right, the ones veterans saluted, historians studied, and audiences never forgot. Grab your helmet, dim the lights, and let's step into the battlefields that blurred the line between cinema and history itself. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. When Steven Spielberg released Saving Private Ryan, veterans wept, not because of nostalgia, but recognition. That opening scene on Omaha Beach wasn't just movie magic, it was an emotional ambush. Spielberg used handheld cameras, muted color palettes, and documentary-style cinematography to throw audiences straight into the chaos. The bullets didn't fly at you, they found you. Did you know the first 27 minutes were shot in near silence on set, with soldiers reacting instinctively to every explosion? No choreography, just survival. Real World War II vets walked out of theaters in tears saying, "That's how it was." It wasn't about heroes or villains, it was about endurance, fear, humanity at its rawest. Saving Private Ryan didn't just depict war, it resurrected it, frame by frame. Black Hawk Down, 2001. Now imagine the 1993 Battle of Mogadishu. Confusion, dust, adrenaline. Black Hawk Down captured that chaos with surgical precision. Ridley Scott used authentic military lingo, real Delta Force advisors, and even placed actors in boot camp to replicate exhaustion. Every radio call, every blackout, every desperate rooftop gunfight was based on actual reports and mission logs. The movie wasn't about good or bad. It was about being trapped in an urban maze where survival was a second-to-second gamble. Did you know soldiers who fought in the real operations served as extras? Their memories shaped every shot. Black Hawk Down doesn't glorify war, it traps you in it. It's the kind of film where the silence after the credits feels heavier than the explosions. Das Boot, Ein und Eich. Few war films capture claustrophobia like Das Boot. Directed by Wolfgang Petersen, this German masterpiece plunges you deep into the steel belly of a U-boat during World War II and refuses to let you breathe until the credits roll. It's not a film about battles. It's about confinement, fear, and the quiet ticking of time in a place where one wrong move means death. The story follows the crew of U-96, a group of young, weary submariners sent on a dangerous patrol through the Atlantic. What begins with nervous excitement slowly decays into exhaustion and dread. The deeper the submarine dives, the more it feels like the ocean itself is closing in, pressing against the hull like an unseen enemy. Petersen's use of handheld cameras and suffocating close-ups puts you shoulder to shoulder with the men. You can almost feel the sweat, hear the creak of metal under pressure, smell the oil and desperation. What makes Das Boot extraordinary is its perspective. Unlike many war films, it doesn't glorify combat or heroism. Instead, it shows the absurdity of survival. Men trapped in an iron coffin, fighting both the enemy above and their own sanity below. The constant sonar pings, the blaring alarms, the eerie silence before the next depth charge. Every sound becomes a weapon of suspense. Jürgen Prochnow's performance as the captain is haunting. He's stoic yet weary, a man aware that his orders are leading him and his crew toward inevitable doom. His steady hand masks the quiet panic of a leader who knows courage means pretending you're not afraid. Das Boot is often called one of the most realistic war films ever made, and for good reason. Every rivet, every drop of condensation, every whispered command feels true. It's not just a film, it's an experience of isolation, endurance, and the slow unraveling of human nerves under impossible pressure. By the time the submarine resurfaces, you're gasping for air right alongside them. Das Boot doesn't just show war, it traps you inside it, one breath at a time. 1917, 2019. Sam Mendes' 1917 isn't just a war movie. It's an unbroken nightmare masquerading as a heartbeat. Shot to appear as one continuous take, the film traps you in the mud, blood, and terror of World War I, following two young British soldiers sent on an impossible mission. Deliver a message across enemy lines to save 1,600 men from walking into a trap. Every step they take feels like a ticking clock buried in the earth. The camera never looks away, not for breath, not for mercy. You march with them through cratered landscapes, corpses frozen in the mud, and fields where silence is more dangerous than gunfire. It's not spectacle that defines 1917, but the suffocating realism, the way the ground shudders under artillery, or how a soldier's exhaustion becomes your own. George McKay's performance as Lance Corporal Schofield is heartbreaking in its restraint. He's not a hero in the Hollywood sense. He's just a man trying not to die before he does what must be done. His eyes tell the story of a generation swallowed by duty and despair. Roger Deakins' cinematography turns the battlefield into a living painting, eerie, beautiful, and apocalyptic. Flames reflect off Schofield's face like ghosts from another world. The one-take illusion doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels like fate, dragging you through every breath and bruise without escape. 1917 is less about war's glory and more about its endurance, the human will clawing forward through hell. It's not about victory, but survival against time itself. Mendes gives us not just a story of two soldiers, but of every soul who ran, crawled, and bled across those haunted fields. In 1917, courage isn't loud. It's quiet, desperate, and unstoppable, a whisper that somehow makes it to the other side. The Thin Red Line, 1998. Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line isn't a war movie in the traditional sense. It's a fever dream wrapped in jungle mist, whispered through the souls of men at the edge of sanity. Set during the Battle of Guadalcanal, it explores not strategy or politics, but the haunting inner voices of soldiers lost in the beautiful, brutal dance between life and death. Malick paints war as a paradox. Nature remains serene while humanity tears itself apart beneath it. The cinematography glides like a hymn, sunlight piercing palm leaves, water shimmering over fallen helmets, and faces that speak more through silence than words. Every frame feels alive, breathing with spiritual melancholy and dread. The ensemble cast, from Jim Caviezel's quiet, saintly private wit to Nick Nolte's hardened Colonel Tall, embodies every spectrum of the human condition under fire. They question purpose, morality, and survival not as warriors, but as wanderers in a world gone mad. Unlike most war films, The Thin Red Line rejects triumphalism. It doesn't celebrate victory. It mourns what victory costs. The sound of bullets is replaced by internal monologues, by whispers of guilt and wonder. It's less about killing and more about the echoes it leaves behind. Malick reminds us that even in the darkest war, beauty still flickers, fragile, defiant, and impossible to destroy. The Thin Red Line stands as one of cinema's most philosophical and visually stunning reflections on what war does to the human spirit. A poem carved in gunfire and grace. Letters from Iwo Jima, 2006. Clint Eastwood's Letters from Iwo Jima is a haunting meditation on war told from the perspective rarely granted dignity, the enemies. Filmed as a companion piece to Flags of Our Fathers, it turns the camera toward the Japanese soldiers who defended Iwo Jima in 1945, revealing not faceless foes but frightened, loyal, and heartbreakingly human men. The film centers on General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, portrayed with quiet brilliance by Ken Watanabe, a leader torn between duty and despair, intellect and inevitability. Through his eyes, we see a doomed garrison writing farewell letters they'll never send, clinging to fragments of home as U.S. forces close in. Each soldier's letter becomes a confession of fear, courage, and a fading belief in honor. Eastwood, directing with the patience of a historian and the soul of a poet, crafts Letters from Iwo Jima entirely in Japanese, a bold choice that invites empathy instead of distance. The muted color palette, the whisper of the sea, the tremor of explosions in volcanic ash, every moment feels intimate, fragile, and painfully authentic. This isn't a story of heroes and villains. It's a requiem for humanity caught between nations. Letters from Iwo Jima reminds us that beneath every uniform lies the same beating heart, one that dreams, fears, and bleeds all the same. It's not just one of the most accurate war films ever made, it's one of the most compassionate. Downfall, 2004. Few war films have stared so unflinchingly into the heart of collapse as Downfall, Der Untergang. Directed by Oliver Hirschbiegel, this German masterpiece dares to take viewers into the final claustrophobic days of Adolf Hitler's regime. Deep within the Führer bunker, where the empire crumbles, loyalty fractures, and madness becomes the only constant. Bruno Ganz delivers a chillingly human performance as Hitler, not to redeem, but to reveal. His portrayal strips away myth and propaganda, exposing a man consumed by paranoia, delusion, and rage as Berlin burns above him. Around him, his followers unravel. Generals argue over phantom armies, secretaries weep, and children are sacrificed to a dream already dead. Every frame of downfall feels suffocatingly real. The attention to historical accuracy, from the bunker's layout to the desperate last conversations, makes it one of the most precise depictions of the war's end ever committed to film. But it's not just realism that grips you, it's the moral weight. You're forced to witness how fanaticism erodes humanity from the inside out. Downfall isn't a film about victory. It's about ruin. The ruin of belief, power, and the illusion of control. As the walls close in and the lights dim, it whispers a warning that echoes far beyond the rubble of Berlin. History doesn't just end, it implodes. The Pianist, 2002. Roman Polanski's The Pianist is more than a war film. It's a symphony of silence, survival, and sorrow. Based on the true memoir of Władysław Szpilman, a gifted Polish-Jewish pianist who survived the destruction of the Warsaw Ghetto, the film unfolds like a haunting requiem for a world lost to madness. Adrian Brody's portrayal of Szpilman is stripped bare. No grand speeches, no forced heroism, just the raw, trembling will to live. Every note he plays echoes through the ruins, a fragile act of defiance in a city turned to ash. Polanski, himself a survivor of Nazi-occupied Poland, directs with painful intimacy, grounding every frame in lived truth. The authenticity is staggering. From the meticulous reconstruction of Warsaw's bombed-out streets to the portrayal of starvation, fear, and isolation, The Pianist captures not just history, but humanity under siege. It's not about glory or victory. It's about endurance, about finding a reason to breathe when the world forgets you. In the quiet between the falling bombs, The Pianist reminds us that even when civilization collapses, art and the human spirit still find a way to play on. We Were Soldiers, 2002. Mel Gibson's We Were Soldiers isn't just a war film, it's a battlefield elegy, a haunting hymn to courage, chaos, and brotherhood. Based on the true story of the Battle of Ia Drang in 1965, the first major engagement between U.S. and North Vietnamese forces, this film does something rare in Hollywood war epics. It honors both sides. Director Randall Wallace, working from Latin General Hal Moore's memoir, We Were Soldiers. Once, and Young, brings a visceral realism to every frame. The helicopters roar like thunder gods, the smoke curls through the jungle like a living ghost, and the soldiers, American and Vietnamese alike, are painted not as symbols, but as sons, fathers, and friends caught in the storm of history. What makes it so brutally accurate isn't just the choreography of battle, but the humanity beneath it, the tactics, the formations, the communication under fire, all meticulously researched, all terrifyingly authentic. At its heart, We Were Soldiers isn't about winning a war. It's about surviving one, and remembering those who didn't. A film forged in realism, carried by heart, and drenched in the sweat and smoke of truth. The Battle of Algiers, 1966. Few films have ever blurred the line between history and cinema like The Battle of Algiers. Directed by Gillo Pontecorvo, this black-and-white masterpiece doesn't just depict the Algerian War of Independence, it immerses you in it. Shot entirely on location in Algiers, the film used non-professional actors, handheld cameras, and real crowds to mimic the feel of documentary footage. The result was so convincing that many audiences believed they were watching actual newsreels. Every explosion, interrogation, and street protest feels painfully authentic, exposing the brutal cycle of rebellion and repression that defined the 1950s conflict between Algerian nationalists and French colonial forces. It's not a film of heroes or villains, just people trapped in history's machinery. The movie was banned in France for years, yet studied by the Pentagon for its unflinching realism and urban warfare tactics. Its moral ambiguity, raw intensity, and journalistic precision make it one of the most important and hauntingly real war films ever made. In the Battle of Algiers, truth isn't told through words, it's captured through chaos. So, what makes a war movie accurate? It's not just the weapons, or the uniforms, or the sets. It's the silence between the shots, the thousand-yard stares, the way hope flickers in the mud. These 10 films didn't just show war. They felt it, with honesty, with pain, and with an artist's unflinching eye. Maybe that's why they endure. Because truth, once filmed, never fades. If you made it this far, tell me, which war movie hit you hardest? Drop it in the comments below, subscribe for more cinematic deep dives, and remember, History isn't just written in books, it's projected in light and shadow. Until next time, keep watching closely. The truth is always in the frame.